In other news now, Tourism Minister Lindiwe Sisulu has announced a partnership with Emirates to add new domestic routes to the likes of Bloemfontein and Gqeberha. Is this the right move, given that domestic flight capacity remains constrained? Well, one analyst believes so. Leitch is the publisher and editor of SA Flyer magazine, and he joins me now to unpack this. Good afternoon, Guy. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for your time on this Friday afternoon. Is this a good move that the Minister Sisulu has done with the Emirates?
Hi, Dan. Look, in principle, absolutely. Anything that improves what we call air connectivity is absolutely essential to the recovery of our economy, particularly the tourism economy post-COVID. It creates a massive amount of jobs to be bringing in more tourists, obviously at the most sort of basic level through, for instance, the increase in demand for accommodation at bed and breakfast and all the way up to, to tour operators and then major hotels and so on. But I also just need to put this whole announcement by Minister Sisulu in context. There is, in fact, nothing new here. What we're seeing is that she's simply reminding the world, if you like, about a code-share that was entered into nearly a year ago between Emirates Airlines and our own local airline, Airlink, which has this code-share agreement. And in fact, it's the Airlink that's going to be flying these routes to Bloemfontein and Gqeberha to feed the Emirates flights operating in and out of Johannesburg.
But there's an international leg to this, from what I saw, that Emirates will play a role, as you said, in ensuring that we get more tourists coming through here.
100%. What it does is it improves the connectivity from these secondary places, specifically, as I said, Gqeberha, Bloemfontein, East London, because they are now able to, with one ticket, purchase a flight. This is what a code-share agreement is. You buy a ticket on one airline, and actually you can end up traveling on another airline. So you can buy the ticket on Emirates and fly on Airlink from your base, let's say Gqeberha to Tambo, and then you just transfer onto an Emirates Boeing 777 would be the case, or else an A380, and then fly to Dubai and then on elsewhere. So it's all about connecting the smaller towns to the major hubs and centres. And also it's obviously good to enable further tourism development at the other end of the line, which is the Dubai hub, that is Emirates.
Yeah, the domestic airline market has been struggling quite a bit, especially even just before COVID-19. We know all the headaches with SAA and then later on SA Express, but SA Link is going to be the one that's going to be used, as you said, in this deal with Emirates. I mean, the pressure on the airline industry in South Africa recently resulting in a Kulula no longer flying, Comair stopping to flight. I mean, the market itself, how strong is it, the domestic flying market? I understand the need for air connectivity and its importance.
Absolutely. Well, the real question is, what is the demand versus the supply equation like? And yes, you did right. We lost 40% of the supply in the loss of Kulula and obviously the British Airways franchise. And importantly, in the British Airways franchise, that was what's called a full-service offering, with a business class offering as well. And Airlink is one of in fact, really the only other airline other than SAA, which is also still offering a business class service, which again further ties in with the Emirates offering. But also we mustn't forget that before that we lost Mango. So we've lost more than 40% of capacity. But at the same time, the increase in fuel prices has had a dramatic upward drive on air ticket prices, which has restricted the number of people who can fly and thus demand. And at the same time, airlines are, quite frankly, looking to make improved profits over what they have been over the past 10 years, because they were absolutely struggling. We've seen that by the failure of so many local airlines, obviously most recently British Airways, then and Mango, and before that, name them, Velvet Sky. One time, it keeps going on. So I think the airlines are, in a sense, making some hay while the sun shines, with supply now exceeding demand. And that will continue until into the new year, because although Fly South Air, for instance, is just bringing in 5 new aircraft to rapidly or massively increase the size of its fleet, it's going to take at least until the beginning of next year before demand and supply can begin to sort of find a correct level.
Yeah, I mean, the outlook beyond early next year, Guy, in terms of the airline industry here, I'm glad you've mentioned FlySafair. I spoke to their group marketing executive a few weeks ago, and he was warning that we should be bracing ourselves for increased ticket prices because of the pressure that has been brought by jet fuel prices. But the outlook beyond next year, as you look at our airline industry, I mean, with all these challenges, having lost more than 40% of existing capacity, what do you think? Are you hopeful?
It will. Look, the airline industry in South Africa is one of the more efficient in the world. That's why the profits have always been so small. It's relatively liberalized. It's relatively allowed free competition. And that means that supply will soon increase to match demand. And in fact, demand is coming down because we are seeing the situation where people can no longer afford to, or tickets are no longer available at, say, 600 or 700 rand as they were 5 years ago to go and visit Auntie for her birthday in Cape Town. So demand comes down there and supply is coming up, not just from for instance, the 5 new aircraft that South Africa is getting, but we've seen Airlink move into the domestic market. We've seen Seme move into the domestic market. So supply is ratcheting up all the time while demand comes down because of the increased prices. So, yeah, Kirby Gordon, the marketing manager from South Africa, is 100% correct. We're going to have to get used to higher prices. I don't see us ever returning to prices of, let's say, less than 1,000 rand on average for a Johannesburg to Cape Town flight. And that'll keep demand suppressed a little bit further. And at the same time, we will see this steady increase in supply from all the airlines as they move into the gaps that had been left by Comair, Kulula, British Airways, Mango, and so on.
Thank you very much for your time and insights as usual. Guy Leitch here on Today. Of course, Guy Leitch is the publisher and editor of SA Flyer magazine.